So that's what I found myself doing.
Yeah.
So to me, it just seemed natural. You know, at the end of the day, the ultimate power is God.
Yeah.
And it just seemed natural to cry out to Him.
So here you are, crying out to God. What happened?
Well, my prayers got answered pretty quickly, in the sense of, at the time I was very close to having to be moving out the house I was living in. It was with my ex-wife now, and I was asking for somewhere to live. I had no idea where I was going to live at that stage. So very, very quickly, a house was provided that suited my costs at the time. It suited, an area was decent, and it was suitable for my kids to come and stay. And that was very, very quickly. That was answered within a couple of months. So I cried to God, but that wasn't enough for me, though. I dived headlong into spiritualism and the occult heavily after that.
So, okay, even though
I know.
This is fascinating, but it's life, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
You know, because there are people sitting out there just having, maybe not with spiritualism or that, but we do these things, don't we? You cry out to God because you're in trouble.
Yeah.
God meets your needs.
Yeah.
And then you turn your back on him and go the
exactly,
other way.
Yeah.
And there's no logic in that, other than, you know, there is a warfare and there is an enemy to God. So, okay, your marriage breaks up, but you get your house, you're living there, and you still go headlong into. Did you go further down than you've been before at that
further,
point?
Yeah, a lot further. Because at this stage now, I'm now living on my own. My children were coming down every other week. So I'm living on my own, and I was literally filling my time with the occult, spiritualism related stuff. I had a spiritualist church less than 5 minutes drive away from my house, and I was going there every week and going to development groups that were going on there. It was a massive headlong, you know, dive downhill. Mm-hmm. That's how it went. So.
And in that, was there satisfaction? I mean, was there contentment? Did you ever feel, yeah, I found it. This is really what I want.
There was two levels really. There was one, personally, I felt, yes, that, you know, I'm developing now. My spiritual pathway at the time was really growing quite a lot. But the other side of me was my life wasn't improving, as in the standards of my life, and my feelings about life in general weren't improving. So the more I felt bad about my life and the way things were around my life, the more I dived into the spiritualism to make up for it.
Thinking that the deeper you go, the better it will be.
Absolutely, yeah.
And was it?
No.
Okay, so here you are, diving deeper and diving deeper and diving deeper.
Yeah.
At some point you get to the bottom, and, you know, and the only way is up. How did that come about again?
That was a couple of years later with for me, another stressful time with financial problems. I'd been living off my credit cards at the time, and anyone that's ever used their credit cards to live off know at some point it's all going to go wrong. Mm-hmm. And it did. And again, I was finding myself crying myself to sleep at night, and I said, you know, God, I need help again. You know, please help me. And again, once again, my prayer was answered pretty quickly. The right people were put in front of me to help me sort out these financial problems. But that really got me thinking about where I was at that stage. Mm. And I found myself thinking, well, he's helped me then. He helped me back when I was going through my divorce. He's helped me now, and he helps me every time I cry out to him. And I cry out from my heart. And that started me then doing a little bit of research into God, Christianity in general. And it was shortly after, or while I was going through those money challenges, that I actually got in touch with Laura via one of their websites and one of their forums. Mm-hmm. And she gently coaxed me into certain things, and I spoke to her about where I was and things like that. And I also had Jehovah's Witnesses knocking on my door as well.
Right. Good, but you never went down that road.
No, I didn't know.
So you're developing now your knowledge of Christianity.
Yes.
But true Christianity isn't just knowledge, is it? There's a reality. There comes a point. I mean, I think there's a contrast here. I feel there's a contrast here, anyway, with spiritualism and with other occult practices. It is always of the mind, developing. Yeah. There comes a point in Christianity where it's not just of the mind, it's of the heart, it's life. When did that happen for you?
When did it get into my heart? Probably... I'm not saying it was a gradual process.
Okay.
It was, like getting involved with spiritualism, it was a gradual process getting out of it for me.
Yes.
Some people I'm aware of it's being very traumatic. In Laura's case, I think it was, from my understanding of Laura's situation, it was very... it was a hard fight.
Yes.
Getting away from it. But for me, it was quite gradual because I was just looking into it on the internet, trying to find out more about it, and not accepting what I was being told. I mean, I had some of my biggest challenges came from spiritual gifts, and I was directly comparing what I was involved in with spiritual gifts that were talked about in the Corinthians. Yes. And I was going, well, you know, isn't this the same as this? And isn't, you know, and Laura and some others were very good and trying to explain that it wasn't. But at the time, I still wasn't fully accepting. But I was open.
Yes.
For somewhere along the line, a switch in my head had said, "Dink, time to start accepting something here." And it became a gradual process. And like I said, it helped with the Jehovah's Witness knocking on the door. And I told them that I was a spiritualist. I told them what I believed at the time about spiritualism. And they pointed me to Deuteronomy 18:9, and it talks about spiritisms and mediums being detestable to the Lord. And that I thought, detestable, that's a pretty strong word. And I did some research on that again, and that was what that got me on the first steps into discovering my Christianity and my faith.
Right. And so... by the sound of it, you didn't have any major problems in getting out of spiritualism, or did you?
No, I didn't. Right. It's stark contrast to a number of people I've heard about that have had problems. Yes. My biggest problem was what was going on in my head about my belief system at that time, and trying to change it around. And like I said, it was thankful to Laura and a few other people on the internet there that really did offer a lot of helpful information. And it wasn't done in a, "You're damned, don't do this." You know, it was a very gentle, and I thank you for that. So it was a very gentle, mainly because she knew where I was coming from. Right. And she knew the challenges that I would be going through and the thought processes that I would be trying to justify my actions by. So it was a gradual process. It wasn't a sudden change. It wasn't an overnight decision.
And of course, you've said it helps with people who know where you're coming from because they've been there and they've come out. So, Laura, interesting point comes up there in what basically is counterfeit, because, you know, I know I've had spiritualists say this to me before. Well, spiritualism is in the Bible because you've got the gift of prophecy and you've got the gift of this. Is this a stumbling block to some spiritualists that they say, well, no, these are gifts and I've got that gift and therefore that must be of the Holy Spirit?
Yeah, definitely, and they can see that they can interpret the Bible in a spiritualist point of view and even say that, you know, the disciples or Jesus were just a classic case of a really good psychic, a really good medium, and do you know that a lot of it can be interpreted from their point of view, and as you say, it's just kind of gently saying, well, yeah, it can look that way, you know, it can look that way, but kind of dig under the surface a little bit more, and sometimes I say, you know, ask yourself,